Hi everyone, welcome. I'm down here in my wormery and there's a couple bins over here that just went past their 100-day age. One of them is now 101 days old and the other one is 102 days old. And the way I see it is, normally we try to recognize it when my bins reach that sort of 100-day milestone, but we sort of overlooked it here, so it's a little bit of a belated birthday celebration. So even though we don't normally check in on these two bins at once, today we're gonna. The one on the right is the one that has supposedly my guest worms here from the worms that came out of my outdoor compost barrel. And the novelty item going on here was just a test to see if we flip the bin backwards, you'll notice the label's not showing because it's facing the wall in this particular case, unlike all the other systems. Because we kept noticing that the worms were coming to the side of the bin that was facing in the room. And we wondered if we flipped it, would we see a similar movement of the worms coming over once again to the middle of the room, or would they stay on the side that they've been on? Over here in this other bin that we're going to check in on today really quick to say happy birthday is the one where we're feeding in a combination of twine bedding and cotton bedding. So they were both due for feedings anyway, and since we sort of missed their birthdays, I figured let's get them up on the bench, give them some food, and make up for the lost milestone event. So let's get to work. What you see here is the assortment of foods that I've got laid out for them. Each system is going to get a coffee portion as well as the filter that coffee's in. Some of these melon rinds, cantaloupe melon. I've got a few banana peels here. And it's just one piece of very moldy hard roll. And I think we'll just drop that into this first system here, maybe save a little bit extra cantaloupe or banana peel for the other bin. Since this guy's getting one extra little bonus thing here, this piece of bread has been in this piece of plastic, or in this plastic bag, for quite a while now, and it's due to get fed to the worms. I just keep forgetting that I've got it, keep walking right past it, and today I finally remembered to bring it down with me. So just a quick reminder, this is the older of the two, the 102-day-old system, in which we're testing the composting of twine on one end. And that will be the side that you see over here, because the twine side is the one that was fed last time, 12 days ago. And we're just flip-flopping each time, so that whatever feeding was put in there will just be left in there. And then we're going to be popping over to the opposite side. On this side, there was some pieces of beach towel as well as some socks, cotton socks. So it's twine versus cotton, basically. Not that there's any sort of a race or anything, but I've never had any experience really trying to compost fabric, so I was definitely interested in the cotton stuff. And as far as the twine goes, I just, have bundles of this twine that I've used out in the yard. A lot of it is very strained from being out in the UV light and the bright sunlight, so it's completely shot, so totally not usable anymore as any sort of string or anything. So it's stuff that seemed like it might be a good medium to put the worms into as far as a bedding type material. And at first it went in here as kind of a big jumble of twine. And I've always tried to kind of keep the stuff sort of together so that if at some point you were to pull out a handful of material, this is a good example, you will find a few strands of it right there to be examined, see how the worms are taking to it. Are they hanging out in the stuff? Are they consuming it? I would like to think so. But, we keep coming back in here with foods. So, who knows? Maybe they're going for the foods and not paying the bedding so much attention. Although I think worms just sort of pay attention to both equally anyway. So, I don't think the food is serving as a distraction. If they were going to treat this as like a carbon food source after it serves its purpose as being its bedding, as the worm's bedding, then maybe the time will come for that. Maybe it's just too soon yet. Maybe the material just hasn't decomposed to the point where the worms can really nibble on it yet. I don't know. It's my first time trying it, so we'll see. But yeah, we're not feeding this side. I just figured this might be a good opportunity to see how the twine's coming along, see how the last feeding we put in here with the twine is coming along, how are the worms themselves coming along. Everything looks pretty good on this side. I think I recognize a banana peel here. But it's so paper thin, it's incredible. It's so cool. It's amazing how they work the stuff down. So there's even leftovers in this one, I see. I forget what the other food types were. This is the stem of a banana. But obviously banana was part of the feeding. For some reason cantaloupe rinds ring a bell, as if we might have fed that in here already once upon a time previously, but I don't remember. So either way, I like the way that looks. Next time we come back in here, it'll be back into the twine side to feed, but now it's onto the cotton side. To see how those tube socks are coming along, to see how the beach towel pieces are coming along. I even have a calculation in my tracking spreadsheet telling us how long it's been now since each of these test bedding materials were placed in here. I think the twine may have gone in first, then next came the cotton. So I think the twine has a few days advantage over the cotton in terms of how long it's been exposed to the worm traffic. So these are the cotton socks. I sort of separated them. These are the parts of the sock that are elastic, the part that goes, wraps around your calf, holds the sock up on your leg, and then the lower portion that actually envelops around your foot, I chopped off because this has no elastic material in it. This, I believe, is stuff that the worms will probably just, consume in its entirety, since there's nothing elastic in there. I'm assuming that they're, the elastic materials are some sort of a, synthetic material that the worms won't be able to do much with. But all the cotton that surrounds it will get nibbled away, so there'll be strands of, elastic material remaining as leftovers, which will just have to get pulled out at some point, but it'll be interesting to see how they do with the rest of the material around it that they're able to eat. And I really don't know how long it takes, but, I think we're now somewhere in the 70 or 80 day range, or at least that was what the time frame was last time we checked in here. Maybe we're like more in the 80 or 90 day range at this point with the cotton and the twine. Because they went in pretty early, When we want to try a test like this in our systems, we usually want to start into it in the early days of the bin, so that there's plenty of time for the test to sort of play out. Because things happen a little bit in slow motion in a worm bin, as you can imagine. So I've seen a lot of socks, but I think we finally have found a piece of beach towel. No, that's not true. Here's another piece of beach towel we saw a moment ago. A little baby worm on it. Oh, get off me. Actually, even smaller worm. I bet if I keep slowing down more and more, I'll keep finding ones that are even smaller on here, because really, really baby, tiny worms are so minuscule you can really miss them easily. But this is the side that we're going to be feeding on. We've pretty much collected up all the test bedding. And this old coffee filter, we're going to go ahead and include that as part of our bedding here too, because we've got a fresh coffee filter coming in with the coffee feeding. So let's see, did we miss any pieces here? Let's start opening up a hole into which we can put these bedding bits down under where the food's going to get placed on top of them. Today I don't think I'm going to supplement bedding. A lot of times I'll grab a handful of my homemade bedding, and it's just shredded paper and stuff like that, some leaves, and include it with the feeding. But today I'm just gonna, I think, stick to whatever I'm able to pull together of the test bedding here, the cotton, since there's a good bit of it. Even though there's a couple worms hanging out on some of it, I think maybe we'll protect those worms from the cold chunks of banana peel and cantaloupe rind by first placing in the coffee, which is room temperature, and then we can place the cold things right on top of that, and we won't have to worry about having dropped any of this stuff right onto a poor wormy's head. So why don't we bring in the coffee for the insulating layer? You could drop the frozen stuff onto afterwards. It's just here with this stuff, I'm really tempted to grab at least maybe a handful of some of this. I saw shredded paper out here on the top surface. Stuff I can include to go with that coffee, just to try to help the coffee get a little bit more attention than it would otherwise. Oh, here's a piece of sock we almost forgot. That definitely belongs down here as well. And let's not forget the yummy fruits. I think I just bought 2 banana peels, so we'll bring one in here for this. system. We'll save the other banana peel for the other one, and then here too I've only got a couple chunks of cantaloupe rind, so we'll drop in maybe 2 or 3 of them, and we'll hang on to the other ones for the other one. But it looks like I put more cantaloupe rinds into this one than I left for the other one, so I think to balance it back out, I'm going to save this bread for the other system at this point. This way it seems like both systems were fed an equal quantity of food. And this top covering newspaper, man, that thing was looking pretty nasty too, kind of beaten up, but I think we're going to try sticking with it. I think it'll do okay, serving as our top covering sheet of paper for a little while longer. I could certainly see us using it in a future feeding, maybe even next time as bedding. But for now, it did seem like there's still enough substance there to continue serving its original purpose proudly. So we don't want to take that away from it. Let it continue to serve the purpose of top covering. Got ourselves a new feeding zone indicator right here. And let's see what we can make of what's tattered up over here. I thought that I might even be able to just take these edges that are kind of double folded over and unfold them, although a lot of times with soaking wet paper that's been folded over onto itself, saying so is a lot easier than doing so. So perhaps our top coverings are not going to get unfolded. It sounded like a great idea, but I think putting that idea to practice might prove a little bit trickier than it sounds. But it almost seems like we can pull a few pieces of newspaper together here to fashion a nice top covering layer here. It doesn't matter because the worms are just going to keep picking away at it anyway. And I wanted to give them a little bit of grit. You know, I wasn't going to give bedding today, but we can give them some grit, and putting it out here on top means it probably isn't even going to get touched, so it'll get blended in the next time we come back in here. Oh, I almost forgot, but before we close up shop here, I'm going to drizzle in a little bit of our Mosquito Dunks BTI solution. I've been treating all my systems with this stuff, hopefully resulting in us having fewer flying insects in our systems. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that this remedy works. Alright, let's get these guys out of here so we can go ahead and feed the 101-day-old bin, the guest bin. So in this case, it was always on this side, the side that was facing into the room, the side that has the label on it, where we always found that there was a ton of worms hanging out on that side. And it was for that reason we figured we'd change the orientation. And I wonder if now that it was this side of the bin, opposite of the label, that was facing into the room, I'm wondering if there's a lot more worms hanging out on this side now. And have they moved over? Or did they get intercepted by the distraction of the food being in the middle? Or what, you know? So I don't know. There's kind of different moving parts. What to expect here, I don't know. It was a completely informal, off-the-cuff kind of little test, so I figured let's give it a go. It was easy enough to try. So I guess between replenishing the food supply, we're also going to try to get a rough idea of whether or not there's more worms on one end or the other, and whether it's still consistent with where we saw the concentration of them last time, which was the side that had the label on it, which is over here, or have they now moved over to the other side that was turned to face the inside of the room. I'm curious to see what the answer to that is. So here too, you know, this piece of coffee filter, pieces of coffee filter anymore, falling apart pretty quickly here, getting nibbled away. That'll just become bedding because we've got that other fresh coffee filter to replace this one with. So maybe we can just dig down, apply the feeding, and then head to the outer edges to give it a quick inspection to see if there's a difference in population on one side or the other, and use that material from the outskirts to cover up with at the end. What do we got here? There's this is cantaloupe rind too, I believe. So maybe this was the bin I was thinking of in terms of where it was that I fed that stuff last time. I smell citrus. What else is in here? A little bit of a mystery. Could this have been where I put a bunch of lemons, I believe, once not long ago? It could very well be. I think I had a whole bunch of nasty lemons, but I didn't really do any research or, you know, look up the video from last time to review how things were handled in here. I mean, that's not true. I did quickly look through to to see which side got fed, just to make sure that, you know, since it was the twine side that got fed last time, I would be feeding the cotton side today. Although the feeding zone indicator would have set us straight on that anyway, even without me checking the video. Let's see. The feeding, I don't know. I still see scraps of what I think are maybe lemon. It certainly has that scent to it. Kind of nice. Nice little fresh smell coming out of here. Worms are certainly not put off by it, even though there's that whole worm bin legend, worm bin urban legend about citrus and worms not mixing well. Every example I've seen videos of says the complete opposite of that, so I think that's one of those debunked myths. Ooh, down here it seems like there's something going on, because it seemed like there's just more worms hanging out there. Maybe there was like one particular piece of special out of the ordinary food that was driving them nuts. And whatever it was, I don't know, because all I saw there was just a jumble of worms. But let's proceed to refreshing the food supply in here. Even though I saw leftovers, I think it's fair to say they'll do fine getting a little bit of more food dumped down in here. So, like I said, this old coffee filter that was serving the purpose of being feeding zone indicator, at this point can just go down here and as additional bedding for this feeding. Also has a little bit of an insulating layer, so that when we put in all the freezing stuff afterwards, we don't dump it on top of any of those wormies that are living down in that stuff down below. We'll set this aside to become our replacement feeding zone indicator. And then in can come the various food items. So there's the couple of remaining pieces of cantaloupe. I didn't really divvy that up evenly. That's the reason I saved the bread for last. This bread, I was afraid to open this bag, so I just want to kind of get the bread in here. I don't want to breathe any of that in. It's probably pretty nasty stuff. It's been sitting around for quite some time, and I wonder what the worms are going to make of it. And last but not least, the banana peel. And this piece of it looks like it's actually got some banana in there. Maybe it was all dented up and brown already and mushy and nasty, so it was decided to make it into worm food rather than eating it, which is sometimes what I like to do, you know, when I get a banana that looks like it's been banged around and it's all brown. I kind of avoid that part of it. It seems a little bit nasty to me, but I'm sure it's nothing wrong with it. It's just got that weird kind of overly soft texture. Seems like it just goes straight to being overly ripe and nasty, and I just usually get rid of it when I got banged up parts of banana that I don't plan to eat. I'm sure the worms appreciate it. So let's see, what else was there? I kind of forgot. I wanted to sprinkle some BTI in. What I've been doing, I guess, lately is trying to incorporate it into some sort of a material that I think might actually absorb some of the moisture rather than just letting this stuff pass right down into the bedding. So why don't we apply the feeding zone indicator, which will probably do a great job hanging on to some of this BTI solution for us. It'll drip through gradually, but at least you won't get that feeling like the whole portion just went pouring right down to the bottom of the container. And then we've still got this piece of paper here too, which we can pour some into. Let's see how this thing's holding up. This actually seems like it's in slightly better shape than the oh wait, I almost forgot. I was going to give these guys grit too. I think I just pushed it off a little bit too far out of reach, and since it was out of my peripheral vision, I just wasn't reminded to give them some. But whatever, here too, we'll just put it on the surface. If they need it, hopefully they'll find it. And then we can start spreading out the top covering. So, happy 101 and happy 102 age for these two systems. And, well, you know, this is that system that we've been talking about, how if the outdoor compost barrel seemed like it could really use this worm population, getting them back in there to increase the head count back to where it used to be, then we could always bring them back out. But every time I go into that outdoor compost barrel and I see all the worms out there, I just have no concerns about that system at all. I think it's going to do awesome on its own. So I'm starting to feel more and more like these bin, well, I mean this bin here at least, this population of worms will soon be converted from being sort of just guests to probably a staple, regular inhabitant of my wormery. So I got a few things I gotta get cleaned up around here and put away, but I'm not gonna waste your time with that. Before I go though, really quick, let me just say thank you. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, as always, please don't forget to leave me a quick thumbs up before you go. And if you haven't done so already, please also consider subscribing to the channel. Alright everyone, have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye now.